Hello and welcome to another quick revision video from me, this tutor. In this video we're going to be looking at Hitler and his causes of the war, looking particularly in the year 1933 when he rises to power through to the remilitarisation of the Rhineland. So do watch this video through a few times and try and see if you can get all that knowledge memorised and understood, and then go and look around my YouTube page or use my revision guide if you have it. If you don't, what are you waiting for? Have a look in the comments and get one, and use my revision guide and my tutoring videos to help tutor you through to a top grade answer and learn all the skills required for the exam questions. But now let's get over to the revision talk through. Okay, so we need to start our story of Hitler and his foreign policy with his rise to power in January 1933. So Hitler was voted in by the people of Germany, and what he campaigned for in terms of foreign policy was destroying the Treaty of Versailles, making Germany great and powerful with a strong army, and remilitarising and destroying communism. So we need to see this as his main aims for his foreign policy. So let's think about rearmament first of all. So the disarmament conference was already taking place. Now for AQA students, this isn't a major part of your course, but it's useful background information. So the Kelbriand Pact 1928 had set out the idea that countries should disarm and there should be peace in the world. Germany had complained that it had disarmed, but other countries had not. And the Manchurian crisis showed that other countries were still aggressive and attacking other countries, so the pressure was on to enable disarmament. So the disarmament conference began in earnest in February 1932. By July 1932, they had started to discuss bans on large tanks, artillery, chemical weapons, bombing of civilians. There was a consensus that these were not good things, but there was not a ban on making weapons or making large bomber planes. So clearly, countries didn't want to do these things, but they still had the weaponry. February 1933, Hitler beginning to rearm in secret and making those plans as Chancellor of Germany. By May 1933, Hitler promised not to rearm anymore if in 5 years all the other countries destroyed their arms as part of the disarmament conference events. Other countries did not agree, so in October 1933, Germany withdrew from the conference and then the League of Nations. This is a classic Hitler tactic, make everyone else look like they're to blame and he is innocent. He has pointed out that other countries don't want to disarm and therefore they are a threat to Germany, so he must rearm to threat against this threat. So the impact of the failure of disarmament conference. So by the end of 1933, countries all knew Germany was going to rearm. Again, as Hitler had argued, other countries were a threat to them. The disarmament conference had failed and the League of Nations had failed again. So this divided Britain and France. Britain felt the Treaty of Versailles was unfair and the French did not. Britain would later start an appeasement policy to try and control German rearmament, things like the 1935 Anglo-German Naval Agreement. So German rearmament has started in earnest. Hitler started to rearm and destroy the Treaty of Versailles, and part of his rearmament, of course, was to reduce unemployment of the Great Depression. So the secret rearmament in 1933 was announced by 1935 in the Freedom Free Arm rally when he showed off a new army and announced he was going to have conscription again to create an army of 1 million men, and he was going to build an air force, a Luftwaffe. Countries did not overreact too much to this, but Britain, France and Italy formed the Strasser Front, and this was a pact against German rearmament, and they were going to work together against Germany and obviously have an alliance start to rearm against the German threat. British signed an Anglo-German naval agreement to try and control rearmament, but by 1938 Germany had 36 divisions of 600,000 soldiers and trained conscripted soldiers as well. So clearly German rearmament had not been stopped and it was a success. So next on Hitler's agenda was trying to organise the Anschluss. So this could be an idea of breaking the Treaty of Versailles by trying to claim more land. So we get an event called the Dollfuss Affair. So in 1934, Austrian Chancellor Dollfuss tried to stop the growing extremism of socialism and Nazism in Austria with a crackdown. And Hitler ordered his Nazis to rise up and cause chaos against Dollfuss's government. The Nazis tried to overthrow the government and Dollfuss was murdered. But importantly here, the Austrian army defeated the Nazi party coup and gained order. Also, the Italian army moved to the border to offer support and help to Austria against Germany in case there should be a German attack. Hitler's Germany didn't do anything at this stage. They were too weak to invade, too weak to force the Anschluss to take place. They had to back down. So it showed at this stage Hitler could be stopped, Hitler could be controlled and it showed that if countries were not appeasing Hitler in these early years, he could have been stopped and destroyed. Next on the agenda of taking land is the Saar plebiscites. You might remember the Saar was given to France for 15 years as part of the Treaty of Versailles. But in 1935, 90% of the people of the Saarland voted to rejoin Germany. This was in the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. This was the first great success for Hitler. Lots of propaganda, lots of positive vibes for the Nazi regime that 90% of the people have chosen Germany and not France. Now, going back to the theme of rearmament, let's find out about the Stressor Pact, the Stressor Front, in a bit more detail. So this was April 1935. The leaders of Britain, France and Italy met to agree to control German rearmament and stop his expansion into Austria as well, to try and control Nazi foreign policy. The aims and actions were a bit vague, and this left Hitler guessing what would happen. And of course, the aims being a bit vague allowed Mussolini to exploit what was happening in the Abyssinian crisis. So the different countries in the Abyssinian crisis went different directions. So Italy obviously was invading Abyssinia, and France and Britain didn't know what to do to maintain their alliance. So they went, as I said, into different ways. In 1935, Britain signed the Anglo-German Naval Agreement. Italy abandoned France and Britain and signed the Rhine-Berlin Axis at the end of the conquering of Abyssinia, and France went on the defensive, building its Maginot Line of defences and starting to make an alliance with Russia against Germany. Britain then, with its different paths, started to appease Germany, and they set up the Anglo-German Naval Agreement. Britain wanted to control the size of the German army and navy and began a policy of peace, as I said. Germany was allowed to increase the size of its navy to 35% by tonnage of the Royal Navy. They were also allowed to build submarines again, which was very important. Britain had helped to destroy the Treaty of Versailles with this, so Britain was undermining its own Treaty of Versailles. It did not consult the Stressor Pact or the League of Nations when breaking their pacts around Stressor and League of Nations and the Treaty of Versailles. Finally, the last big event in this time period is the remilitarisation of the Rhineland. So why did this happen? This was caused by negotiations and development of a Franco-Russian pact of 1935. Germany saw this as a threat. Now France was threatening Germany. They were surrounding them. Hitler argued this was aggressive and he needed to defend his borders. Also, the French-British armies were in Africa just in case the Abyssinian crisis boiled over, and they were distracted by these events. So Hitler used these wider world events to remilitarise the Rhineland while almost everyone was distracted. So the events. German troops marched into Rhineland March 1936. They used horses and bikes rather than planes and tanks. They did not want to seem too aggressive or threatening to the French, so they went in with low-tech ideas. They were also told to retreat if they met any resistance, so that, again, they weren't causing war or problems. But it was a success. They took control of the Rhineland area, and Germany now controlled its borders. So what was the impact and consequences? Well, of course, France started rearming. They were on the defensive, as I already said. Italy, after the Abyssinian crisis and after falling out with allies, as in France and Britain, they turned to Germany. Germany now looked strong. They signed a Rhine-Berlin Axis. And Russia and Poland were now put on a warning. They realised that Germany was aggressive and starting to expand and destroy the Treaty of Versailles. They knew that Germany might look eastward next as their next conquest in terms of taking back land, particularly Poland that had had so much German land given to it by the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, if you're finding this video useful with all its knowledge and facts and details, then do have a look at my revision guides. I have lots of AQA revision guides for you to use, and they're packed full of tutoring videos as well. These videos talk you through how to answer questions correctly and get top marks in your answers. So do have a look around my YouTube channel for some examples of them, and if you find it good, then have a look at my revision guide. Okay, well, I hope you found the video useful and you've really got lots of knowledge now. If you need to watch it a few more times, then do. And then, as I said, have a practice of some of my exam questions. Do subscribe if you found this useful, and have a look. I've got lots and lots of other videos that you might find useful. Right, well, bye-bye for now.